Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. I am Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you are new and just landing here, I hope you'll stick around and hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to get into a reading in a moment, but I'll tell you all, I am doing a little saging, trying to cleanse my energy. I just spent about 30 minutes. I don't even know how I got through it, listening to Frump's presentation at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. I was getting ready to tape, and then I saw that he was on live, so I decided to spend some time and check out what he had to say. There was some interesting stuff, and we're going to get into it. But hey, first, here, let me give you a little bit. Right? Hope you take that in just because, but also for me. And let me cleanse the deck before we get started. So, interestingly, as many of you know, yesterday, Mark Carney of Canada came out swinging, said what he said, and he's been such a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're going to see more of that, him emerging as a really powerful world leader. Gavin Newsom got over there and, went over early and said what he said to all the European leaders and members of NATO, like, stop bending the knee, right? He was just, Gavin was in rare form, all right? But so lo and behold, Trump shows up today. We're going to take a look at that plane situation. That Air Force One, they had to turn back, right? You all heard about that? A supposed minor electrical issue, but as some of you brought to my attention with the solar flares, very, very strong, bringing, the radiation and bringing in particles to the Earth's atmosphere. Yeah, there's something there to that in that plane, but I'm going to look at that in a moment. I want to stay focused and start on NATO. So I think we got something going here. I certainly feel it, smell it. Thank you, Spirit. Some of you know, by the way, that I used to be a newspaper journalist. And so one of the things, and I'll share this with you as well, I know so many of you talk about, listen, I cannot stand his voice. I can't stand listening to him. The gurgling is getting worse, by the way, you all. Like, you can just hear it all in his throat. And when he takes a breath, you can hear it all in his nostrils. Like his respiratory situation is something else. But want to talk about several things that he said this morning. One, he called out Mark Rutte of, or Rutte, however you pronounce it, of NATO. He called him out directly and said, I know you're in the audience. Where are you? Like one of those things. Called him out, basically dogging out NATO, basically just, going on and on about how much the United States has done and they've never gotten anything in return and same old. But he also called out Mark Carney and said, essentially, he said, check it out. Canada, quote unquote, Canada lives because of the United States. Now, I was about to share with you before, as a reporter, or years ago, former reporter, one of the things that I learned to do, and maybe it'll help you all as well, is rather than react to things that we hear emotionally, which, clearly we're human, that's our response, but almost, and it certainly helps me stay calm, especially when I get here. I never go to the cards agitated. That's a no-no. But to listen to things, even when it's someone you just, but try to listen for information, not for truth or false or lies or how despicable it is, but just information, almost like, because you're going to take that and relay it to others. And that certainly is a technique that I use. I take it in, and to the extent I have a reaction, my own personal reaction, I kind of try to park that to the side for a moment, and I want to just lean in and observe. It helps you filter the information and really sometimes see truths that when you're just already on edge, it gets a little harder to get to that. So anyway, enough of that speech. Let's go in. He told, like I said, called Mark Carney out point blank and said Canada would not exist without the United States. But he also said, and then I'm going to spread, he said, I know many of you are, this is not a direct quote, but I wrote it down. He says, I know many of you are expecting the U.S. to use excessive force regarding Greenland, because he's like, I know y'all waiting on me to talk about Greenland, so okay, here goes. And he says, he's first of all, he tells us it's just a block of ice. It's not about the rare earth minerals. It would take us too long to get there. It really is about the positioning of that land mass and us having a golden dome. Kept talking about this golden dome to position, and protect national interests. Okay, what I want to see is NATO going to cave? Is the European allies and the European Union, are they going to cave here? Are they going to hold fast and protect Greenland and stand with Denmark, or are they ultimately going to cave? What is going to be the outcome, the most likely outcome of the World Economic Forum, specifically with Trump's grab at Greenland? He said, I know I started to say this before, I'm sorry. He said, people are expecting the U.S., to use excessive force. Quote unquote, he said, I won't do that. I won't do that in regards to war, essentially, excessive force. Let's take a look. Spirit, what will be the outcome of how will NATO and the European leaders respond to Trump's appearance and what comes in these meetings at the World Economic Forum? What's the outcome? Bottom of the deck, 9 of Cups, what everybody wants. And I'm not going to ignore it because it's a major arcana and another major arcana at the bottom. Okay, so 9 of Cups. Trying to sell it as they don't want it. Nobody wants this. They're not prepared to actually let this go to the extent, European nations, let this go to the extent of having a war with the United States. It probably is going to have to go the economic route, if anything, sanctions, less trade with the tariffs. If he continues to push the tariffs, there's starting to be more talk about trading with China, with India, with, Canada. That's part of what Mark Carney's doing. So the 9 of Cups is saying they essentially, nobody wants this. They're going to come out of the economic forum, on the one hand, trying not to bend the knee or appear to be bending the knee to Trump. But on the other hand, they want a solution to this. Now, the magician came saying it's going to be crafty. It's going to have to be, how do we create perhaps a board or a committee or something after after the World Economic Forum to continue to have discussions and create a solution around this so that we can move forward together, still semi-unified. Not really unified, but you get my drift with the Chariot. How do we get over this obstacle? Chariot energy is very often around being presented with some form of a challenge or an obstacle and pushing through it. So they want to find a creative way, NATO leaders, European leaders, to get through this. Nobody wants this to go to war. So there's that. I'm also being, you don't see me often do standard formations in cards, but I'm going to use this as my central position, and now I'm going to build a Celtic cross around it and get to an outcome. Spirit, the outcome of this economic forum, the outcome. I'm not even looking at the cards until I get them down on the table. What's the outcome, Spirit? Canada, NATO, Europe, what's the outcome? Are they going to hold off? Are they going to cave? What's the outcome? All right, we're there. So bottom, ooh, this is very, very powerful energy. Yikes. Ooh, wee. Okay, let's get into it. And y'all like, okay, FFA, tell us. Okay. So bottom of the staff, foundation, what we're on, Ace of Pentacles. So there's something here clearly all things around Greenland, but something new around a proposal. He's also said, we want ownership. Trump said, we want ownership. We don't want a lease. We don't want a license to operate on Green. We want it. So there is something new that comes out of this, a new proposal, going back to that magician energy, a new suggestion about how to work together, short of force, use of actual force and strength and force, quote unquote. Those were his words. There's something new that's going to come from this. In the past position, in recent past, we have temperance. That's all of the changes that have been going on. That's the back and forth around his insistence and sometimes saying, we'll go in militarily if we have to, but if you play nice, then we won't have to, but we want it no matter what. At the top is the lovers, a deal struck or a pact made. Um, I feel like there's a little bit of stalling here, like because this is ruled by Gemini, Mercury. Mercury also co-rules the magician. Mercury rules the magician. So this is about crafting something that, at least on the surface, appears to be a win-win. Going back to that Nine of Cups that we started out with, it appears to be a win-win, but oh, you know what, you all? I got so I'm not used to having three cards in front of me in the center. I skipped my future card, so let's pull that now. The near future. The near future in this situation with Greenland. Justice. Spirit ain't playing with these major arcana today, because this is huge. We get a lot of, for those of you who don't read tarot, we get a lot of majors in a reading when the stakes are really high, when Spirit is saying this is a big situation with long-term impact. So in the future, we do have justice. Now, I find that really interesting in light of the fact that we had the Lovers card at the top of the reading, because both of these are not so much about compromise, but about trying to find balance, this is not just front being able to operate from solely from the perspective of the US and be a bully about it. This is, at the end of the day, as isolationist as he claims not to be afraid to be, America first, there is that aspect. Because also, thank you, Spirit, what they're reminding me, and this comes up in this justice energy as well, don't forget how many of the U.S. Treasury bonds are held in Europe or in other regions of the world. They start selling off those bonds. That's a problem. Economically, that's a real problem. So there's something in the justice aspect of that, trying to navigate what is fair, what is equitable, trying to make some sort of decision around that. But it is something new with that Ace of Pentacles. It's some sort of financial support, something. Let me see if I can get deeper into it. We have the Ace of Swords. These are new talks. Two aces have come. So these are new talks relative to that land mass and decisions. But High Priestess comes right around, comes to complement this Ace of Swords. So that's Europe, NATO. There's something going on after this forum, after this economic forum, you all. There's going to be some conversations had between them, between the NATO allies, exclusive of or excluding the US, that they are trying to hatch a plan, basically to resist, to continue to support Denmark, again, short of a war, because they just don't have the resources or the ability to sustain anything like that. The Six of Swords, how in the heck are we going to move forward from this? And the outcome card is the Fool. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Spirit, because in the context of those two aces that we got, something new regarding Greenland, how to handle that landmass, and the conversations between Europe and the other NATO nations, that's secret. They are moving away from the United States. These countries are trying to figure out how to detach. And I think part of what Spirit is saying here in all of this major arcana energy with those two aces and the Fool closing out this reading is the outcome card. Yes, we know this is new territory. Yes, we know that to a large extent, what European leaders and the leaders in NATO are facing is just completely uncharted territory. We never thought that we would be in this place with the United States of all nations, right? But they are going to start something new, and I'm almost getting, Spirit, ultimately, is this leading to a new pact excluding the United States? Is this a new pact excluding the United States? The Three of Cups working together. There's a new pact that they're going to form. And the two major players economically that are not at the World Economic Forum, you all, as many of you know, are China and India, right? President Xi and Modi from India, they're not there. So I wonder, and Carney, we know, was met with President Xi, went to China recently, and then went to Qatar. Spirit, is this something is that what the high priestess is showing us? There are some conversations that are starting to be had out to exclude and form something new to continue to protect Denmark. Because none of the nations in and of themselves, the Seven of Cups, how do we do it? But cups flowing in motion. And who's going to do what? So part of this is establishing something new, but also having some sort of order to that. You know, which nations and which people from those nations are going to be the leaders, the leading voices in this new subset. Because I don't think this is not something that's established. We're seeing too many decisions being made, and that outcome of the Fool, this feels like because the U.S., if it's just NATO, then they got to still deal with Trump. This is like closing behind closed doors so that they organize and then come at it, and he doesn't know about it. Or at least they're going to try and keep him from knowing about it. And there's the Page of Pentacles. Notice the Page of Pentacles with that Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Something new, a new development or a new approach to what to do about Greenland. And now we've got the Page of Pentacles. They're going to go at it a little slowly. But these are messages. Ace of Swords. These are talks that are being had between these nations. And I think part of what's happening, Spirit, is this going to be amplified? Are they going to come away, European leaders, NATO, are they going to come away PO'd at Trump's bully pulpit? Four Swords. A lot of discussions around it. A lot of trying to de-escalate emotions around it. Two of Wands. It's not anger. It's strategy. I'm really glad that's what we're seeing. It's not anger. It's strategy. They're going to come out of this meeting. All right. We heard what we heard. We know where we stand. We know that we've got to get together and form some sort of subset of a NATO type situation where we close ranks and help one another. Spirit, are they going to try and bring China or India into this mix? Are these European leaders and others, are they going to try and bring China or India into the mix? Death. Not for right now. I love these majors coming up today. Spirit is speaking. Maybe I should start the reading out with some sage a little more often, right? No, not right now. Also, because I think they're not trusted. Like they feel if they go in that direction, neither of those leaders or representatives of those two countries would really be on board with the mission. Like these leaders, Europe, NATO, the allies, they know one another. They know the deal, and there's more of a foundation. Ace of Pentacles that came at the bottom of the reading. The foundation. They trust one another to be able to do something like this together. That would exclude from. And then they don't have that same trust. And the Eight of Cups, that's not the route to take. Okay, thank you for that clarification. They won't be reaching out to China or India for now. All right? Woo! So watch for that. They are going to resist, short of anything military. Now, to the extent, I'm going to ask this before we go to the other thing what happened with Air Force One. To the extent that from Spirit, he said, no excessive strength or force. And he said, I won't do that. Is that his true intention? Is that his true intention, or is he secretly planning a military takeover? Was he being truthful? Will he hold to that, or is he planning a military takeover? And they said I didn't shuffle well enough. Let me do it once more. Will he? Now, y'all know I'm getting older. My little fingers have to work a little harder to get to deal with these decks. All right. But we got it. Once more. Will when Trump said no military intervention, will he hold to that, or will it come down to that? Will it come down to military force? Seven of Swords. Dang, can't believe a word out of that man's mouth. Deception, betrayal. Did he say that to throw him off the scent? To throw those leaders off the scent so they won't already know? They got to prepare for that? The Sun. Will there be a military intervention or military force used in Greenland by the United States, Spirit? Will the United States take Greenland by force? If it has to, if it feels like it has to. I'm sorry, you all. Let me get my clothing straight. Something else is trying to come. The Tower and the Eight of Swords. Yikes. Wow. You know, this is not even just Trump. This is the Pentagon, Hegseth. This is Rubio. This is everybody in his inner circle, because Epstein files. They're trying to avoid. They will do any and everything necessary to distract and keep attention away from that, from furnishing those files. The Hangman. Thank you, Spirit. That's it. They will go to that extreme in Greenland if it diverts the production of those files and keeps everybody off balance. Remember that also that in this new package that's being to keep from government funding, with that deadline of the end of January coming up, they have apparently, from what I understand, on a bipartisan basis, so disappointed with the Dems right now in Congress, but well, not all of them clearly, but we know who we're talking about. They have approved, I think it's $1 trillion already for the Pentagon and DHS and other spending. Now, we also hear that they're supposed to be fighting on the ICE end of things, but I'll deal with that probably next week as we get closer to the end of the month. But they have, from what I understand, they've already approved $1 trillion for the Pentagon and military spending. Why? Okay? All right. Let's get to that scare on Air Force One. Trump was already bent out of shape because he had to land. He was planning his little splashdown in Switzerland, and he had to go there in a smaller plane. They said because they had to turn Air Force One around and let it stay parked. I guess they got to work on that. We're going to probably be hearing some more about that plane from the Qatari jet or plane that we heard about a while last year. Probably going to want to light a fire under that mission pretty soon. But the solar flares. Some of you brought this to my attention, and I appreciate it. The solar flares, I'm going this way, you all also, because I know this can get a little loud on my speaker and my mic is over there. The solar flares are having a major impact, and we're hearing a lot from weather-related scientists, etc., who are saying this is pretty unprecedented. in terms of this energy that's coming into the Earth's atmosphere. The auroras that have been seen, which look amazing and are beautiful and awe-inspiring and breathtaking on some level, but on a big level, I should say, not minimizing that, but also what on the other end of that, what's happening. So, spirit, ooh, Ace of Wands. Ooh, and it's coming in fire, no less. This is the start of, I just heard, so I'm just going to say it. I just heard this is sort of a preamble or the start of the year of the fire horse, right? In terms of major changes, not just weather or geomagnetic related events, but how those events, remember, we are electromagnetic human beings, right? We respond to things that are happening energetically in the atmosphere. I'm getting that not only could this precipitate things like more outages, satellites being interrupted. Let's ask about that, spirit. Was Air Force One impacted by the solar events that are happening right now? Was that part of what happened with Air Force One? The High Priestess. It sure was. But they'll never tell it. That's the High Priestess. Oh, it was a minor electrical issue. It sure was. The High Priestess also, and the Four of Pentacles, things being stalled out. This feels like interruptions, and interruptions in Pentacles, interruptions in the Earth's atmosphere, Earth, Pentacles, interruptions in the way things work within the Earth's atmosphere, like satellites, like electrical disturbances, atmospheric disturbances. I know some of you have said that there have been predictions about an earthquake in California. I don't want to go into that energy right now. I feel like a lot of us just, it's too much. We're not, not right now. We'll look at that maybe a little bit later, but I'm looking at this again in the context of, one, did that have something to do with what happened with his plane yesterday? Yes, the High Priestess, the Four of Pentacles, something was about to stall out, or something did stall out. Something in the electronic apparatus on that plane stalled out. The Three of Cups. This is people. Are you telling me, Spirit, this is about people being impacted, the rise of the people being impacted and stirred up by these solar flares? The Empress, you don't get much more to people than that. All right? So, two levels that's happening here. One, actually feels something to feel good about rather than fearing the worst. All right? Talking about some of these weather events and maybe what might happen in California, and interruptions and satellite interruptions and things. That gets is that a thing? Well, we look at what happened to his plane, apparently. So that is a thing. We will see some atmospheric and other things coming up. But also, I think what the universe is showing us is this is meant to propel the people together. Like what will come in, and the change and the creation of change in that Empress energy. Empress being so much about the Earth's atmosphere, its dynamics, its growth, and its people. And that Three of Cups is representing that. So is part of this solar energy, and something's going on. I need my astrologers, please, if you don't mind, in the comments. Like there is something's going into Aries. Is it Pluto in Aries coming up? There's some things happening, and we've been hearing about that, especially something around, if you look at Trump's chart, his chart and predictions that have been made based on his chart, specifically in April and July of this year, and many even in India. In India, they don't play with their astrology. They're like, I respect, salute. In addition to so many of you as well, but there is every indication. Some have pushed out his. Some have said that by April or July at the latest, he's incapacitated one way or another through whatever event. not wishing any harm, entertainment purposes only, got to do it. And I mean that. But just, it is what it is. It's in spirit's hands. It's the universe that something's happening there, and then there have been others that have pushed it out as far as next year and saying by that time he's done. He could very well be incapacitated this year and then still hang on, right? That has been a scenario as well, that he's somewhere off in a room in whatever state he's in, and Vance still has to come forward. Okay. Which, by the way, a funny while we're at it. So we heard Usha's pregnant with their fourth child. Interesting timing. Is she doing the trad wife thing? Like, let me lock him down some more. I'll just go ahead and push out another baby. But some people on there was some stuff going around on social media yesterday saying, when the news said, well, did Usha fall asleep on the couch? Y'all know about that couch reference, right? Did she fall asleep on the couch? The internet is undefeated, I swear. All right. What is the impact of the solar flares on the people, especially of the people of the United States? I'm done. We can wrap this reading up, y'all. Here comes the fool again. Ruled by Uranus. Very much, we know this is a new era. This is a new time. This is jump off the cliff and don't worry about it, because you're going to be caught. You're going to be safe. You're going to be taken care of. Mother Earth, Mother Gaia is like, I know the Earth is going to feel the effects of these flares, but it is not to frighten you, even though some of the things may be extremely, the fool, Uranus, it may feel extremely disruptive. It may feel like, what? Okay. Going back even to Verizon, which I'm a Verizon customer, and I was impacted by that outage last week, like just weird off the wall stuff, but it is not being done. Remember that Three of Cups at the end that came with those other two cards, right? At the end, this is about, it is almost, I don't want to say celebratory necessarily, but it is to the benefit of the people. There is something where in the universe, there's this sun powerful solar eclipse in February. Woo! Can't wait till we do some readings in the month of February around the 17th. When officially that year the fire horse kicks off on the 17th with the solar eclipse. Like, so much going on. But this is, hold on to this, you all. The Three of Cups. This is the union of the people. This is a rebirth of the people's will in that fool, and the Empress comes to bless it. It's not being done to frighten. Now, what happens on some planes when folks are flying? All right, you all. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Take really good care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. And remember, sky above, earth beneath you, right? Heaven, earth, and soul within you, right? Hold on to that. Know who you are and stand on that, and be kind to one another. All right, I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.